Good evening, awesome viewers. How are you doing today? You're welcome to today's edition of The Law and the People. I'm glad to be here. I'm your host, Courage Nsirimovu. On today's edition, we will be focusing on voter education. What are your rights as a voter? What are your responsibilities? The question that immediately comes to mind is, do you have your PVC to exercise this right to vote? Knowing that the Constitution has clearly stated that sovereignty belongs to the people, sovereignty belongs to you, and the government only exists through your right to vote. That means you have the power to decide who becomes the next president, who becomes the next governor in your state, who becomes the House of Assembly member, and other elective positions. So power truly, constitutionally, belongs to the people. But the people have to be awake to this, their entitlements given to them by the Constitution. So we will be talking about the procedure to vote. However, the same question comes to mind again. Have you gotten your PVC? I have a guest in the studio, but we'll go for a short break. And when we're right back, I will introduce my guests. Welcome back, viewers, to your favorite legal program, The Law and the People. Like I said before the break, we'll be doing voters education today. And to also help us out in the studio, it's a legal practitioner. And this time, in line with gender balance and inclusion, we have a female in the studio. She is a legal practitioner, and she's someone who has been through the electioneering process as an INEC ad hoc staff. So she will be talking to us on matters concerning votes. Her name is Roselyn Nwuchegbuo. Roselyn, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm excited about the show.
Oh, good. You're welcome to this program.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have a female lawyer. You are a lawyer.
I am.
Quite young.
Yes.
All right. What basically is your take on the entire electioneering process? You've been through the process. Is it free and fair? I mean, in what election was that, and where did the election hold? And was it this new electoral system? Yes.
The election, it happened earlier this year while I was serving in Plateau State. As a core member, we volunteered to work with INEC for the election that happened in Plateau State, Pangshin South.
Okay.
Yes. So I was made the presiding officer of my polling unit, and I had other assistants, the APO1, APO2, APO3, who were there to also help me, who were there to assist me with carrying out my duties as the presiding officer for that polling unit.
Good. So yes. The process, was it seamless?
It was very easy, and there was no stress. And the whole process, it was a free and fair election.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Good. All right. We'll just read through some guidelines, and then we'll talk about them. What will be the procedure on election day? And here on INEC portal, it says appear in person at the unit where you registered between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. with your permanent voter's card. Accreditation commences at 8 a.m. Voters are expected to queue up in an orderly manner. Card reader will be used to verify and authenticate the PVCs presented by voters. Accreditation closes at 1 p.m. A security personnel is required to stand behind the last person on the queue to prevent any other person joining. However, everyone on queue as at 1 p.m. shall be attended to. The number of the accredited voters is announced and written in the column provided for on the result sheet. At 1:30 p.m., the accredited voters are invited to queue up in an orderly manner for the commencement of voting. Accredited voters on the queue are counted and the figure loudly announced and entered into the result sheet. They are invited one after the other to confirm their accreditation and also issued with ballot paper. The voter is directed to a cubicle to make his or her choice on the ballot paper in secret and thereafter drop the ballot into the ballot box in the full view of everyone present. Voting is declared closed when the last voter on the queue has voted. The ballots are sorted, counted, and the votes scored by each contesting party candidate, as well as the rejected spoiled ballots, are announced and filled into the result sheet. The result is entered into form EC60E and posted at the polling units. The results from the polling units are taken to the various levels of collation for computation. In your estimation, like I love to say,
yes,
is this process entirely correct?
it is, because during the election process we were able to get to the polling unit on time. By 7:30 we were already at our polling units. We had set everything up, and presently voting starts by 8:30 and ends 8:30 a.m. and ends by 2:30 p.m. At that time, towards the timing, is the security personnel will stand at the back of the line. He will be the last person on the line to prevent any other person from joining the line, and then all the voters on the line are counted to prevent any delay in the voting process.
Okay, let me quickly ask you some set of questions. What time did the materials arrive for accreditation and identification and voting? What time did the materials? You said you did what election? Was it in Plateau State?
Yes.
It was a by-election. That's
Yes.
For House of Representatives.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Okay. And it happened this year after the electoral act was passed into law. Good. Which means it's the new system.
Yes.
So let us know logistics. What time did the election materials arrive at your polling unit?
We the ad hoc staff, we arrived with the election materials at 7:30. We are at
No, you're not the one to bring the election materials.
We were the ones that went with the election materials along with the security personnel.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
fine. Okay, you went with the election materials.
Yes,
Okay.
because what INEC does is we sleep over at the collation center, and then the next morning we're giving the sensitive materials. So you're not giving sensitive materials.
So what materials are sensitive and what materials are insensitive?
Okay, the ones that fall under insensitive are like the biros.
Okay.
Yes, paper tape, glues,
Okay.
posters. Then the sensitive materials include the beavers. That's the bimodal voter accreditation system, which has been used to replace the card reader.
Oh, oh.
The result sheets, the ballot papers. These are sensitive materials,
Okay.
etc. Yeah.
So you said you people were at the polling unit at what time?
7:30 a.m.
Oh, that was pretty
early. Yes, because
so we hope to see that in the coming elections.
I hope so too. I hope so too, because it gave us enough time to set up the polling units, the posters that were meant to be posted, the arrangement, the setting up, the arrangement of the ballot boxes, and the cubicle. Everything had to be in place. So arriving early gives us the room for us to be able to set this thing up before voters start arriving.
So around the polling unit area, did you notice any campaign poster saying APC, PDP?
No, INEC doesn't allow that. And if we get there and we see all these posters, we are advised and encouraged to take them down and then replace them with INEC posters. So let's
you don't
the
fear
community
for your life.
We have security personnel there guiding us.
Oh,
they are there for our security.
Oh, good,
so
good.
when we get there, any poster that portrays any party that might sway the mind of the voters, we take them down and then we put INEC posters to let the community know that voting is in progress.
And it's neutral.
It's neutral.
Oh, that's really good. That's really good.
Yes.
Okay. What question was coming to my mind? How about a situation where you see somebody wearing a PDP cap or a PDP t-shirt or an APC cap, an APC ticket, a t-shirt, or any other material of sort? What do you do to that person? Do you allow the person to vote to be accredited?
We are advised to let them off the line. They are supposed to go change and come back to vote. Yes.
So you
to allow every other person to have a neutral mind, to know that this election is free and fair. They aren't coming to campaign. Sorry, that they aren't coming there to campaign for their parties. They are coming to vote.
Good.
So everyone, even your face mask, it has to be plain. So your attire has to be plain.
So that means because looking at you, I know you don't have all the muscles and well without to get the people out of the place. Just in a situation where they become belligerent. I mean,
that's what the security personnel is there for.
Which means there are lots of responsibility for the security personnel, and that means the security personnel has to be there at every point in time.
They don't just assign one security personnel.
Okay.
At least 2 to 3 personnel.
Okay.
That can assist the others. Yes.
You think we have that capacity in Nigeria? Because in 2023 election, you're looking at the entire space in Nigeria.
True.
Even if you bring the Navy, the Army, the civil defense and all of that, do you think you can have such numbers in a polling unit? Anyway, that's not a question for you to answer right now. Based on the new Electoral Act, before now, there has been prohibition of the use of electronic materials and all of that when we had the card reader. So now what is in place?
Presently, I think the new Electoral Act that was passed, it allows for electronic voting.
Yeah.
So it can also be submitted in court as an evidence.
Good.
To prove whether the results are false or if there has been any foul play. So with this new Electoral Act now, the BVAS, which is the Bimodal Voter Accreditation System,
tell us how it
can
works.
Be present. Okay. The Bimodal Voter Accreditation System, also known as the BVAS.
Okay.
Yes, it's a tab-like device where before you're even allowed to start the accreditation process, you who is in charge of the BVAS itself, either the PO or the APO, you have to log in first, and you need to have the password to it, so not anybody can access it. So that alone has put a security system in place to prevent any other person from accessing it and changing the results or any other thing. So after you've logged in and your details, it will show the details of the person that has logged in. Then you begin the accreditation process. And the BVAS, it has the voters register installed in it. Like every voter for that polling unit, there's a register, there's a hard copy and there's a soft copy. So the soft copy is also stored in the BVAS. The BVAS has a large memory space, which allows for you to store large data. So it's easier because once you accredit a voter, it shows you the picture of the voter.
Let me ask you a question quickly. This is very interesting. The beaver
Yes.
is for that particular polling unit.
Yes.
Okay,
it cannot be used in another polling unit.
Okay, so the data of registered voters are for those in that polling unit alone.
Only. Yes.
Oh good. Continue.
Yes. So the beavers, when you accredit, and it also counts the voters. For every voter you accredit, the number increases.
What's the
by
accreditation
one.
process? Is it by facial recognition or by fingerprint recognition?
You can use both. The beavers allows for both facial recognition. It also allows for thumbprint. So you can either use, where the thumbprint fails,
okay,
you can use the facial recognition.
And where the both of them fails?
It's highly unlikely. Because from my experience, where the thumbprint failed, the facial recognition worked.
So in a circumstance where somebody comes to vote and the person's fingerprints and face is not recognized as the PO in that polling unit, what do you do?
Then you let the voter know that you check the voter's PVC to check if that voter is for actually that polling unit. Because there are situations where voters make mistakes. They come to the wrong polling unit. So you check the last 6 digits on the PVC to know whether the voter belongs to that polling unit or not. And most times you find that that voter doesn't belong to the polling unit. So it's very hard for issues where both the facial recognition and the thumbprint do not work.
So a situation where, because back in 2019, where the card reader was being used, in a circumstance or situation where the card reader fails, there is usually an incident report that is filled, and then the person are allowed to vote manually. So in this particular election or procedure, would that be the case, or
there's no room for incident report?
No room for incident report.
Because the beavers, I am not trying to brag or boast, but INEC has done a good job this time around with the beavers.
Okay.
It functions perfectly, and it has a long battery life. Like throughout the election period, we didn't have to charge it. Wow. It carried us throughout the whole day, and the battery was still strong. It was still in 80-something%.
Okay.
And it was able to carry us throughout the day. So it's not a situation where you say, oh, this one, the battery is dead, and then you have to go and switch to get another beavers. And then that also raises doubt in the mind of the people, where there's a switch and you be like, it's possible they've tampered with the result. But it's not so in this case.
So you're telling Nigerians that their votes will count?
Their votes will count this time, yes. I am confident in it.
Your votes will count?
Yes.
This is an interesting discussion. Dear viewers in Rivers State and in Nigeria, your votes will count because we have a bimodal
voter accreditation
system. We'll go for a short break, and then when we return, we'll continue with this session of voter education. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
With a gradual lifting of COVID-19 restrictions across the country, life seems to be returning to something close to normal. But is it really? The coronavirus is still out there and remains deadly and highly contagious, and only too willing to strike again and again and again. Do not drop your guard. Maintain good personal hygiene, avoid overcrowded places, and more significantly, get vaccinated. Remember, it's never over till it's completely over. This is a message from the Silverbird Group.
Welcome back, viewers, on this edition of The Law and the People, and we're still talking about voter education. You need to know so that you can easily express yourself when you go out there to the polling unit. So we're still talking about the BVAS, the Bimodal Voters Accreditation System. Good. So that is basically going to be the game changer in this coming election. I hear there's an election, Ekiti election coming up, and then the 2023 election. So tell us, what's the difference between these beavers and the card reader?
Well, for the card reader, it only accepted thumbprints.
Okay.
But with the beavers, it also has an extra advantage, which is the facial recognition.
Good.
Because there are situations where you find out that the person's face and the face of the person and that on the PVC, it's not the same.
Oh.
So with the beavers, that helps you know that something fishy is going on here. Yes, because there are some voters, even when they come and you tell them that this is not your card, they keep insisting that is the card, that it belongs to them. And then when you check their fingerprints and the facial recognition, you end up realizing that it doesn't belong to them. Maybe they borrowed it from a sibling or from an uncle or from an aunt to come vote, and you can't vote in proxy. It's not possible.
Is it something is working in my mind? Is it possible for the beavers to recognize an underage voter, or that would have been cured in the process of registration on the part of INEC?
That would have been dealt with in the process with INEC.
Okay.
Yeah.
So another question is, what advantage, okay, you've told us the advantage the beaver machine has. Does the machine count the votes accurately?
It does.
Nigerians would like to know.
It does. From experience, it does. For every one voter you accredit, the number increases by that just one vote.
Okay.
Yes, for every accreditation you make, it increases by 1. It doesn't increase by 2 or 3 or 4. Just that single accreditation means 1 voter. So when you accredit 2 people, it increases to 2. When you accredit 10 people, the number is at 10, so it's accurate.
Another question is, what if somebody votes and comes back again?
Now that is a very good question. You can't vote twice with the beavers, because where you try to vote, the beavers will let you know that that voter has voted.
No, when you try to re-identify.
If a voter comes, okay, what INEC did is, there's this inkling they usually put in the thumbprint
of the person.
Yes. So imagine where you've marked the person before, and it's usually permanent, at least for the period of that voting day. So if the person comes back, you don't even need to use the beavers at that moment.
So if you forget to mark the person, can the person come back?
If the person comes back, the beavers and the person tries to use the beavers.
Okay.
Yes. It won't go again. The person won't be able to vote twice.
Okay, so
yes.
So there is we are not expecting a situation of
one voting by one person. Yes, with the beavers, that doesn't come into play.
Okay, people are okay. I'll come to that question. However, at the end of the voting, do you feel any form whatsoever?
The result sheet.
You feel the result sheet?
Yes, after the sorting, the counting, and the announcing of the result, you also have to fill in the result sheet. Then there are other forms you fill, like at the before you go to your polling unit, right? INEC gives you ballot papers. So after the voting is done, you have to write down the serial numbers of the ballot paper used. You have to write out the numbers of unused ballot papers, rejected ballot papers, spoiled ballot papers, with their serial numbers.
Wow.
Yes. So imagine where your beavers is saying, okay, let's say in a polling unit, there are 734 registered voters. 300 came out to vote. The beavers is reading that for that day, you accredited 300 voters. And your ballot box is saying you accredited 600 voters. It is the presiding officer of that polling unit that will be held accountable. Cool. Because that means you have allowed something.
Before I forget.
Okay.
In the Electoral Act,
okay,
it is written that officials on election duty, that's the POs, the APOs, and the rest of them, they sign to an oath of neutrality.
Yes.
Did you sign?
I did. I signed a document like that. Yes, I did. It is attached to a form you fill. You fill the form and then you sign the oath of neutrality.
Do they threaten to prosecute officials who are partisan?
It's not. They don't threaten to persecute officials who are partisan, but I think it's all about morality.
Okay.
Because you as the
An
presiding...
oath is an affidavit, oh.
I know it is.
Okay.
But there are some people who swear with an oath and yet they still go against their words. It happens. But at that point in time, you know that, okay, this process that is happening right now, right? If you don't do it right, something goes wrong. People will either get hurt for it. So I think most times it's morality that endeavors people to know that this voting process that's happening, you should do the right thing. Like, because there are situations where you see that presiding officers, maybe while they are stamping and signing the ballot papers, you will see some people trying to like cut them into the corners to like buy out some ballot papers and all that. So let's say you forgo morality and then you decide to like take the money and you buy out the ballot papers, and now your ballot papers are more than the accrediting voters.
Okay, let's hold on to that. Do you immediately send the result sheets to the result portal? We need to know about that.
Yes, from the beavers you can do that. A specific code is given to each presiding officer for each polling unit. So immediately you're done with the election and you've written down the number of accredited voters, you can send the result directly to the INEC viewing portal. Yes.
So that means there wouldn't be so much
There
need
won't
for
be
collation.
there won't even be room for you to be able to tamper with the result.
Good.
Yes.
So that means collation is underplayed in this particular.
Yes, it's not a major
process.
this as it has during the period of the card reader. All you're going back to INEC of the registration center to do is just to return the electoral materials, submit the beavers, and then the INEC officials who you're submitting the beavers to, they make sure that what is on your beavers and what is on your form correlates.
Okay, dear viewers, this is very interesting, and that is the much that we can take on this edition of Voters Education on your favorite program, The Law and the People. For want of time, we will be calling it a day, and then next week we'll open up the phone lines so that you'll be able to ask questions on the election process, so that you actually know that your votes will count and you go and get your PVC. See you the same time next week. I want to thank the crew and my guest today. Thank you very much. And you viewers, thank you for listening. Have a blessed week.
For you saw me with eternal eyes while I was.
Hebrew 13. Read verse 17.
Obey them that have the rule over you, and submit yourselves, for they watch for your souls, are they that must give account, that they may do it with joy and not with grief, for this is unprofitable for you.
Obey them that are put over you, that are put as leaders over you, for they shall give account. They shall give account of you.
There's no one like you, Jesus. There's no one like you in all the earth.
OPM,
Dr. Jesus in action.
Dr. Jesus in action.
God is here.
On Monday, 9th of, my name is Nwuchegbuo. On Monday, 9th of this month, I went to school to take my uniform for WAEC. When coming back, I entered motor from Mobi Junction, close to Bolier. So getting to my destination, this school, Jefta Comprehensive School, that is where I'm living. So I got to my destination. I asked the taxi man to stop. I've gotten to my destination. The man refused to stop. Getting to Obrikwere flyover.
When you reach Ivre, she entered Tazio, going to school. When she reached where she's going, Tazi, I've reached where I'm going. The Tazi refused.